In our last episode, we talked about gratitude and being intentional about all the things you're thankful for. Well, forgiveness goes hand in hand with gratitude, believe it or not, and that is what we're talking about today. I'm Cameron. I spent years building my career and creating a life I loved. And when my Prince Charming finally showed up, he had 4 kids in tow. Fast forward through lots of mistakes made and lessons learned, step-family life was much more complicated than I realized. If you're looking for help with blended family life, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Stepmom Diaries, where we keep it real as we dish about all the things. This is your weekly dose of blended family inspiration and encouragement. You're not the wicked stepmother, so let me help you find your fairy tale ending. Come on, let's do this. Hi, thanks for joining me today. Before we start, I wanted to let you know that I'm offering you a little freebie today. It's a free look into my blended family formula for stepmom success. This is a great tool. It's the 7 steps that you need to improve every aspect of your blended family life, and I'm offering it to you for free. Just text 44222 with the word stepmom, and I will send it to you. You won't regret it. So in episode 8, our last episode, we talked all about how you can take steps to become more thankful right now. How did that go? I hope that you were able to try some of them because practicing gratitude really does help improve your outlook. I've been doing a lot of thinking about gratitude in the holidays and have realized that, forgiveness and gratitude really are 2 sides of the same coin. Gratitude involves acknowledging all the good things that happen, being mindful and intentional about our blessings, whatever those may be. Forgiveness is sort of the flip side of that, right? It's also intentional. It is consciously responding positively when we've been wronged or hurt by someone else. It's offering mercy instead of anger. And most people struggle with forgiveness. It's a lot of times they're either unable to forgive, or perhaps they forgive too quickly and don't really process their feelings. And when that's the case, I'm not totally sure that it's actual forgiveness, right? But there's a reason that we talked about gratitude first. It's much easier to practice gratitude than forgiveness, right? Forgiveness is hard, really hard. It's something I struggle with all the time. So think about it. When was the last time you forgave someone? I mean, like truly forgave them. And what did that look like? Think about it for a minute. It's really hard. Back in episode 6, you might remember I used the analogy of treating your partner the way that you would treat your dog. Now, of course, by that I mean in terms of the unconditional loving and not holding grudges against them. But it occurred to me it's actually a good analogy for forgiveness too. So going back to that example, when your dog poops on the living room rug, you probably get mad, right? But then they look at you with those big puppy dog eyes because they know you're upset with them. And, you just can't stay mad. And if your dog is like mine, he really only poops in the house because something's wrong, because I haven't picked up on something that's going on with him. So it's his fault, but I might have contributed to it a little bit. Either way, chances are that once you clean up after your dog, you've kind of almost forgotten about it. What if you treated people like that? What if you were able to forgive people the way that you can forgive your dog and just kind of move on and enjoy all of the pleasant parts of life? Wouldn't that be amazing? Now, to be clear, when I talk about forgiveness, I'm not talking about being a doormat. I am not saying that you have to kind of take every negative action that's thrown your way. Absolutely not. That's where boundaries come in. You have behaviors that you can accept and, deal with, and you have boundaries that you set so that you don't have to have people in your life who don't treat you well and who continually disrespect you. I mean, that's a totally separate thing and probably a good separate topic for another podcast episode. But hopefully you understand what I'm saying, that, forgiveness doesn't mean accepting that, negative behavior towards you is okay. It is simply allowing you to absorb what happened and to move on. It's not endorsing the behavior. It's not you know, again, not saying that you're going to be a doormat or that you're just going to put up with anything that's thrown your way, but it's sort of allowing you to release that negative energy and move on with your life. Frederick Luskin, who's a senior consultant in health promotion at Stanford University and director of the Forgiveness Project, which I will link to in the show notes for this episode, writes that people who learn to forgive, quote, become more hopeful, optimistic, and compassionate. Forgiveness has physical health benefits. People who learn to forgive report significantly fewer symptoms of stress, such as backache, muscle tension, dizziness, headaches, and upset stomachs. In addition, people report improvements in appetite, sleep patterns, energy, and general well-being. I mean, that sounds amazing, right? So can we all just agree to do more forgiving and, move on and let things go? If so, then I probably don't need to keep talking, but I'm guessing it's a little harder than that, right? Before we get to what forgiveness is and what it looks like, let's talk about what forgiveness is not, right? Forgiveness is not forgetting what the other person did to you. It is not even about making up with them or reconnecting with them or becoming best friends with them. It is not about the other person at all. And this is a hard lesson to learn. It's about you. It's about setting yourself free. It's about being able to let go of the anger and the resentment and the hurt you feel when someone has wronged you. Those feelings are not good for you, and they can actually have physical effects on you. I don't want to sound too woo-woo, but for real, I mean, all of that negative energy that kind of stays bottled up within you when you're angry and you can't let go of something, that's just not good, right? Holding on to some of these negative things can really, contribute to you bringing anger and bitterness into your other relationships, which can lead to those relationships being damaged too. It can keep you so wrapped up in what went wrong that you can't enjoy your present life. It can make you depressed or contribute to your anxiety. And it can keep you from connecting with people in truly meaningful ways. Karen Schwartz, who's a practicing psychiatrist and clinical programs director of Johns Hopkins Mood Disorder Center, says, if someone is stuck in an angry state, what they're essentially doing is being in a state of adrenaline, and some of the negative health consequences of not forgiving or being stuck there are high blood pressure, anxiety, depression, not having a good immune response. You're constantly putting your energy somewhere else. So yeah, for us stepmoms, forgiveness is huge. All those feelings towards your partner's ex, all of the nasty comments that may have been launched in your direction or things that may have been done to hurt you, when you can forgive them, it will help free you of that negativity. And here's another tie-in with gratitude. A lot of times, if you practice gratitude regularly, when you can change your mindset into a more positive frame of mind, you become more open to the idea of forgiving the people in your life who have hurt you. It's kind of amazing. So, what does forgiveness look like? We've talked about what forgiveness is not. Let's talk about what it is, right? It is different for everyone, but essentially, it's you making a decision to let go of your hurt and your pain. It's you deciding to move forward, to grant yourself the peace to move on with your life. Forgiveness, true forgiveness, is honestly one of the hardest things to do, but it does have real health benefits. And we've talked about some of the things that can happen to your health when you hold on to anger, but let's talk a little bit about the benefits that forgiveness has. The Mayo Clinic actually says that letting go of grudges and bitterness can make way for improved health and peace of mind. Forgiveness can lead to healthier relationships and improved mental health, less anxiety, stress, and hostility, lower blood pressure, fewer symptoms of depression, a stronger immune system, improved heart health, and improved self-esteem. And let's be honest, forgiveness is liberating. When we can forgive, we feel lighter. We can open our hearts. And again, as stepmoms, it's really important for us. I mean, we are so often the easiest targets for other people's anger, right? The bio mom, your partner's ex, the kids, even our spouse sometimes. It is easy for us to be the emotional punching bag for people. And so Us being able to rise above it and forgive is really important to our mental well being. So, how do you go about forgiving, especially when it's a truly heinous act that has been directed your way? I'm going to give you the 4 steps to forgiveness that I have found really helps me, and I hope it will really help you. So, let's dive right in. Number 1, allow your negative emotions. I mean, you need to own your feelings, right? So, how do you do this? I love the idea of writing a letter to the person who hurt you. But here's the catch, you're not going to send it, okay? You're going to get a piece of paper or pull up your computer screen, pull up a Word document, write a letter to them. List everything they have done to hurt you, how those wrongs have affected you. Tell them how you wish they had handled it. Tell them how it has impacted you. And end the letter by letting them know that you're forgiving them and that, that forgiveness is going to be good for you and good for how you interact. Now, again, this is not a letter that you're ever going to hit send on. Don't type this up in an email because you might accidentally hit send, and I think you might regret that, especially if the other person doesn't realize they've hurt you and isn't looking for your forgiveness, right? That's a little awkward. The letter is for you. It's for you to kind of write everything out and then release it. It's to get everything off your chest. And I think the simple act of writing it all down really will help you release that. So, number 2, stop dwelling on it. Be gentle with yourself. This is a hard one. How often do you find yourself replaying something terrible that's happened in your head? I know I do it a lot. It could be a situation where the ex or one of the kids has said some horrible thing, and I just kind of replay it in my mind over and over. You know what that does? All that does is get me upset over and over again. They don't know how bad I feel. They may not even care. But I do, and I'm making myself feel bad over and over again. That is no way to live. Be kind to yourself. Stop dwelling on it and start thinking a little more positively. See if you can let that go. Now, how do you do that? It can be hard, right? Find something positive that when you start going down that path, you can shift your mind to. Maybe it's a positive mantra to, counter those negative thoughts. And it can be something as simple as, just saying to yourself over and over again, this too shall pass, this too shall pass, or I'm going to get past this. I'm going to get past this. I'm going to get past this. Or even just, let's get through today. Let's get through today. Find something that works for you and just say it over and over again when you start kind of going down that path of dwelling on, these awful things that have happened. So moving on to number 3, you should accept that your forgiveness may not result in the other person changing. This is a big one because a lot of times when you think about forgiveness, you think about some sort of resolution or some sort of big makeup fest where everybody apologizes and you kind of move on, best friends forever. That is not always reality. The other person, if you express your forgiveness to them, they may not apologize and they may not change their actions. But that's not the point of forgiveness. Remember, forgiveness is not for them. It's for you. It is, I guess the best way to think about it maybe is thinking about how it can change your life by bringing you, emotional healing, more peace. Forgiveness can take away the power that the other person has over you. And when you can forgive, it'll help you take back that power and that control from the person who wrongs you. When you dwell on those things, it gives them power over you. But when you can forgive them and move on, it takes their power away. It helps you regain control over your feelings and your emotions. And that is a pretty powerful feeling. So if you can forgive completely independent of what that means in terms of the other person's behavior or actions or outlook, that's really powerful. So moving on to number 4. Number 4 is really all about kind of your accountability. So number 4 is do the work that you need to do. So that's not necessarily about forgiving someone else. This is more about what's happening with you. Think about the times that you have been forgiven. Do you need forgiveness in this instance? Have you done something that has contributed to the problem? We've all hurt somebody at some point in our lives. And if you can think about those times that you have been forgiven and what that has meant to you, it'll help give you some perspective on the act of forgiving. We're talking about how powerful forgiveness is, and it's a really powerful feeling to know that you have done something wrong and that the person that you have offended or hurt has forgiven you. It's really powerful. So, think about those times where you have been forgiven. Realize how valuable that forgiveness is. Understand that it's a process. And, even small hurts may need to be revisited and forgiven over and over again. And those are, that's whether someone has hurt you or whether you've hurt someone else. It's a two-way street. And, it is a choice to forgive, but that doesn't mean it's easy. It's really hard. We've been saying this whole time, it's really hard. But it is absolutely a powerful act that can be truly life-changing. So let's talk a little bit more about, what happens when you're the one who might need forgiveness. Say the bio mom has made some comment to you and you have, retorted back with something that you immediately regretted saying, right? I think it's important to kind of figure out and own your actions and be able to ask for forgiveness when you need to, right? So I think the first step is to really, look at what you've done and how your actions have affected others. But don't judge yourself too harshly, okay? Like, let's be realistic. Look at the situation objectively. Is there something you could have done differently? Could your actions have been perceived maybe in a way that you didn't intend them? If you're truly sorry for something you've said or done, there's no harm in admitting it to the person that you may have hurt. Talk to them about, being sincerely sorry, or, ask them for their forgiveness and without making excuses. Don't make it conditional. It's never a good idea to be like, well, I'm sorry I said this to you, but it's only because you're a big jerk. That's not going to go over too well. Or, I'm sorry I did this, but it's because you did this other thing. That doesn't really help. My mother-in-law is a retired Episcopal priest, and she actually has a wonderful way of framing these things. She has talked with our kids about the importance of not only admitting when you're wrong if you've hurt somebody, but directly asking them for forgiveness and saying to them, I'm sorry I said this to you. Can you forgive me? Will you forgive me? What a wonderful way to approach things. And, what a great lesson for kids to learn. What if you've said something that you regret to one of your stepchildren? What a wonderful example to set, to be able to go back to them and say, we had some crosswords earlier, and I'm really sorry for my part in that. I hope you can forgive me. It's a great example for them to set. Now, they may not be so gracious in return. They're kids, right? And even adults aren't always as gracious in return. But remember, forgiveness is about freeing yourself, and asking for forgiveness is also about freeing yourself. And it will make you feel better. You will be able to move on easier, and, you'll be able to open yourself up to anything that they have to say to you or any time that they want to ask for forgiveness. Now, you really can only ask for forgiveness if you've done all the work that we've talked about today. Do the self-examination, really understand what happened, and really want the forgiveness. If you aren't sorry and you aren't looking for forgiveness, don't just ask for it, right? And there are times when you're just not going to be sorry for something you've done. I hope that if you realize you've hurt someone, that, you can take a look inward and figure that out and figure out how to move forward. In the same way that, forgiving someone for what they've done to you will allow you to move forward, right? So I know we all can be our own harshest critic. And I know that the process of asking for forgiveness is really hard. It's probably just as hard as forgiving someone. Um, and in the same way that we dwell on things that other people have done to us, if we know that we have messed up, I don't know about you, but I tend to dwell on it too. I mean, I cringe at some of the things that I have said and done and just hope that people forgive you for it. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody stumbles. You've got to forgive yourself before you can ask for forgiveness. You've got to come to terms with anything that you've done. And I want to emphasize again that forgiveness is hard, both giving forgiveness and asking for it. But don't let that scare you. Do the work on the inside, forgive yourself, and then you can work on forgiving others or asking for any forgiveness that you might need. Because at the end of the day, if you allow all the negative feelings, all the negative anger to crowd out your positive feelings, you may find yourself just totally swallowed up by bitterness and, feeling like there's just always, injustice towards you. And this is where gratitude and forgiveness go hand in hand. Gratitude is about changing your frame of mind. Forgiveness is gratitude in action, right? Does that make sense? Before we end today, I'd like to go back and just talk a little bit about how powerful forgiveness in action really is. Do you remember a few years ago? I'm sure you remember this. It was a huge national story. When Dylan Roof entered the Emmanuel AME Church in Charleston, South Carolina, and shot and killed 9 of the church's parishioners. It was a truly heinous crime, and it was carried out in a place where everyone should feel safe. They're at church. They're celebrating love and faith, and it was just a horribly tragic and horrific crime. There was a bond hearing after that happened, and relatives of some of those parishioners attended the bond hearing so that they could address Dylan Roof. And their statements were so powerful, not because they were calling for, him to get the death penalty or for him to be punished, but because of their messages of forgiveness. I mean, it really was stunning. So, Wanda Simmons, I just want to read you what she said because I think that it really sums up the whole message of forgiveness and why it's so important. What she said, she was the granddaughter of Daniel Simmons, who was killed that day. She said, although my grandfather and the other victims died at the hands of hate, this is proof. Everyone's plea for your soul is proof that they lived in love and their legacies will live in love. So hate won't win. And I just want to thank the court for making sure that hate doesn't win. And that right there really is the essence of forgiveness and the essence of gratitude. It's making sure that hate and anger don't win, that gratitude and forgiveness can overpower any of those feelings of negativity, of anger, of hate. And it really is so important to your well-being as a stepmom that you're able to, rise above some of that stuff. I know that as a stepmom, you are often asked to be the bigger person. I mean, my gosh, I can't count the number of times where something has happened, something has been said to me by, my husband's ex-wife or someone in her family, or even one of the kids has said something to me that's just been truly hateful. And it can be frustrating because there is a double standard. It's like people say things to you and you're expected as the stepmom to just kind of take it and move on. And if you talk back or raise your voice or do anything, then all of a sudden you kind of embody the stepmom stereotype of the wicked witch, and it's not fair, but that is, that is a dynamic of step family life that I think a lot of times we feel like we can't stick up for ourselves. We can't fight back. And I guess, my ask of you today is to think about fighting back in a little bit of a different way. Think about maybe keeping your mouth shut in the moment and doing some inward work later on and trying to forgive the person that has said that to you, trying to forgive, maybe it's your partner's ex that has, made some snide comment or, has undermined you or gone behind your back and done something to you. Maybe it's the kids who are probably angry at a whole lot of other stuff, but have taken it out on you. you are the easiest target, friend. I have experienced that too. But if you can kind of take those actions, take the anger that you feel and redirect it and forgive them, it will lighten your load. It will allow you to work more productively towards building your blended family. And all in all, I mean, it really will enable you to have a happier daily life. Now, again, I know we talked about this at the beginning of this episode. Forgiveness is one of the hardest things you can do. It really is. So I encourage you to do the work, take it slow. And, if you feel like you're getting stuck, talk to a stepmom coach, talk to a therapist. I do a lot of stepmom coaching with women who are trying to work through, the actions of others that have impacted them. And, it can be helpful to talk to someone else about all this. So if you're struggling, please don't hesitate to reach out either to a stepmom coach or a therapist or, even just a friend who might understand what it is you're going through. Thanks again for joining me today. Don't forget, you can find our show notes at thiscustomlife.com/episode 9. And also, don't forget, I mentioned this at the beginning, I am offering you a free look at my blended family formula for stepmom success. These are 7 steps for you to improve every aspect of your step family life. So just text me at 44222. Just put the word stepmom in it, and I will send it to you. I promise you will not regret it. I hope that you enjoyed the discussion today. I know I did. Forgiveness is something that I have struggled with, and I think that it's something that a lot of us struggle with. So I hope that this was helpful. If it was, I really hope you'll leave me a review on Apple or wherever you listen to podcasts, and make sure that you subscribe so that you don't miss an episode going forward. That's it for this week. If you've enjoyed our chat, I hope you'll help spread the word. Share this episode with friends and head on over to wherever you listen to podcasts and leave me a review. And don't forget, for more great stepmom content, head on over to thiscustomlife.com and follow me on social media. Just search This Custom Life on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest. Until next time, you keep being you and know that we are in this together. See you here next week.